And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Soc Talk. And today I'm very excited to be joined by a good friend of mine, a Music Society member. She is also a singer, songwriter, and musician. Harshitha's here. Hi, Harshitha.
Hi Karthika. How's it going?
Good, and it's great to have you on the show. And we're on
It's great to be here.
episode 3, and this is back on our artist spotlight series. So we're going to be having an interesting conversation about music and what music has made us do and the effect of music on our lives. And we assume it'll be interesting for our audience today, as Harshita, she plays the ukulele, she plays the guitar, and she plays the keyboard as well, and also manages to write songs here and there. So I mean, she's a multi-talented person. I've seen her perform.
It's coming from you, ma'am.
I've seen her perform live, so I can testify to that. So, Harshita, what are we going to be talking about today?
So I thought we could just talk about first, like, how the both of us got into music, because like one of the things that we bonded over was music, because you played the guitar like really well, and just the inspiration behind that, what keeps us, like. So for me, I was never really into performing or singing for anybody else in school. I know that a lot of people from Music Soc have the background of like being in the choir in school and stuff like that. But I only really I was a really shy kid. So I only really started, performing in school in like 11th and 12th. That's when we formed a band in school, and that really helped me get into music and start singing and build confidence to record videos and put them online and stuff like that. So yeah, after that that was me branching out. Like, we would do a lot of pop and a lot of different genres, but I realized that I'm not necessarily a fan of singing pop all that much in college, and Music Soc was a really, really great platform to figure that out, meet people that have the same music taste, that like to work on similar things, like the same genres, and it really gave me so many opportunities. I became close to you there. I met a whole bunch of people, and it was really great.
Yeah, I mean, did you start off with just singing, or how did instruments come into this?
So I initially started off with singing. I didn't know any instruments, but then in around like 11th grade, I was just looking up what is the easiest instrument to learn, and I found the ukulele. So I got it, and it was fairly easy to learn. So that was when I started playing the ukulele, and then after that I picked up the guitar during quarantine, and because I was fairly okay playing the ukulele, the guitar also came naturally. It was a little harder, but it really helped knowing the ukulele. And in the same way, I picked up the keyboard. There was a keyboard lying at home, so I just thought I'd pick it up and try to learn it. And yeah, I'm fairly a noob at both the guitar and the keyboard, but I'm learning, and God knows how long we'll be in this quarantine. So
yeah. Definitely. I mean, I completely agree, and I mean, it's not really easy picking up multiple instruments to start playing, because as easy and accessible it sounds, you need to invest a lot of time into it. And I think similarly with my experience with how I got into music, I think I tried my hand at piano first because my sister used to learn, and then I don't know, but I think every South Indian family, they want you to learn either dance or music. So I was Carnatic music, however, I did not enjoy it. So that went on.
Oh my God, same.
Yeah, see, like every South Indian family. But guitar eventually came through because of my interest. It wasn't something my parents told me to learn. But my father was a guitarist, like when he was in college and university. So I think it naturally came to me, and just having to look at a guitar every day in the house, it was an added incentive. So that came through. But I think music is, like you said, JGU, Music Soc was a great place for me to learn and unlearn things. I was looking to only a certain style of music, and I think we used to have open mics held very regularly, which even if I wasn't performing, it was great to see people perform. And you
I
being
miss our City of Stars performance. It was such a nice day.
yeah, I know. And then we'd and music society would also be called on to perform during Sawmill or Bite Food Festival. So those opportunities are great, and I think every fresher joining Jindal now, they'll definitely experience it sooner or later.
Oh
And
yeah, 100%.
yeah, so that's been
So
a great experience.
great. Like you said, like in every South Indian family, we're all introduced into music in a really like inorganic way, I guess. I mean, for me personally, it was kind of inorganic. I'm sure that Carnatic music is beautiful, but again, it didn't click for me personally. So it's really great how almost everybody that I've spoken to has had their own like music journey of how they discovered their own style after doing different things. And yeah, genuinely like being in college, the environment in college, meeting like-minded people, even like jamming with my roommates to, our favorite artists has been really great in, helping me figure out what kind of music that I like and what kind of music I like working on.
Yeah, definitely. So let's move on to the bands or artists who have inspired you over the years. I mean, not necessarily just now, because I think with quarantine coming in, I've been listening to more people perform music, and I'd always say I had a multiplicity of artists inspiring me and listening to their work. But right from the beginning, how did it start, and what was music to you when you were young?
So, music to me when I was younger was, something that I resonated with, but not as much because we all started off with the whole like pop phase of music. And where I really started singing it's a funny story actually. Like, it's also kind of embarrassing, but like, I think around in the 6th grade, I was watching TV and then an Indian Idol advertisement came on.
Okay.
So my mom was sitting there and she's like, why don't you give it a try? So I was like, okay. And then it was back in the days, so I had to call, and over the phone I had to give an audition. So I had to sing a song, and I don't quite remember what song I sang. It was a Hindi song, but I got a call a couple of days later being like, come to Andheri West in Mumbai. And I was like, oh shit, I might actually be good at this.
Wow.
So that was where it started off for me.
You go.
But then over the years, like, I started listening to new music, and especially in college, I bonded with a lot of people over my taste in music. And like bands such as Hosier is really great. Like, I was just listening to him before this interview, and like, for me, what really ticks with an artist or a band is, primarily the beat. Like, I resonate a lot with like indie rock, alt, but the lyrics are also just so important because we don't often always sit back and listen to the lyrics.
Yeah.
But when you have a whole and all-rounded experience of great music coupled with great lyrics, it just makes for a great experience. And I think that Hosier is a great lyricist. Like, his lyrics are brilliant. It blows my mind each time. There's another band that I really like the lyrics of called Cage the Elephant. They're really, really great. I remember, Karthika, you and I were discussing bands when you came over to my balcony one day, the classics, Nirvana, Arctic Monkeys.
I remember.
What about you? How was your like music taste trajectory, and how did it lead you to?
I think when growing up in my house, my parents used to play a lot of 80s, 70s, 90s thumb songs. So that always stuck around in my head, but it never influenced me when I started out as a musician. Because I think, like every friends group, we had a phase. We had the rap god Eminem phase. We had the whole rap thing going on, and then slowly we had the EDM phase, the electronic music, where we would listen to only Martin Garrix, Steve Aoki, Skrillex. My friends were like huge fans of Skrillex, and some of them are still are. So that went on, and eventually I picked up the guitar, and like you said, mostly it would be pop or very mainstream, basic music you can find on the internet. I mean, we never did our research and looked into what actually resonated with us. And I think few years later, that is when Indian music started coming back to me, and that's when I felt most connected to my roots. For me to perform in my mother tongue, or play songs in my mother tongue, and at the same time also playing songs and genres that I really enjoy. So I think I'm at that point in my life where I'm able to intersect both, and I'm able to look back at my roots and connect back with them. So that's how
That's
it
great.
with me. So it's been always multiple genres. So I wouldn't.
That's amazing. Honestly, it's so good because I've also started realizing that like all of our standards are extremely Eurocentric, right? Like I lost touch with, my roots a long time back, in around, let's say, 8th or ninth grade. But because my mom was a Carnatic singer and I dabbled in it briefly. I didn't really resonate with it, like you said, but we often forget that Indian music is so vast and so diverse and so beautiful. So I've been trying in whatever way I can to reconnect with that. Like just in the beginning of quarantine, I found myself jamming with my mom to some Tamil songs. Tamil is not my mother tongue. Yeah. But my mom and dad, they were born and brought up in Chennai.
Oh.
So I found myself, jamming with her to one of the very few Tamil songs I know. And then after that, I, started trying to sing Hindi songs, acquaint myself with them. And it's just really great because I just, I sat back and realized that a lot of what we consider good music or like good lyrics is so shaped by, standards that apply in the West. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because music all around is brilliant, but it's just so humbling to also, reconnect with your roots. And I was also really, really in awe of you because throughout you were so diverse. I would find you covering a Nirvana song and a Tame Impala song, but the next day I would find you covering a Tamil song, and it's just really great. It's really great how
and I think
at the end of the day we're connected to our roots.
Yeah, I think we should tell our freshers that Jindal is not about just English music. Jindal is much more than that, and music society in itself is very, very diverse. So, I mean, I've noticed like a general perception of being afraid to sing in Indian languages, and that should never be a barrier, in my opinion. I mean, you're always free to do what you want to do, and I think it's really important that batches lower than us have to, get this and see that into their mind.
100%, yeah. And it's just sometimes I find that my mom and I were having a conversation about this. But sometimes I find that music in our own regional languages just have the ability to convey emotions that get lost in translation with English music for the most part. They're beautiful in their own way, but I do feel like we have lost out with respect to, reconnecting with our roots. And I'm just really glad that in Jindal especially, there is a big scene for people that sing in regional languages, that sing in Hindi, that sing in Tamil, and it's really, really beautiful to listen to. And music really helps me when I'm going through a hard time because it honestly pulled me out of a really hard time that I was having a couple of years back, and it has the ability to make you focus in what gives you ease and what gives you peace. And while you're in that zone, when you're trying to distract yourself, you don't necessarily, it just happens so organically for me because I'm able to focus on making something that I truly connect with and resonate with, and that really helps me. So anytime I'm feeling anxious about like an assignment, or just every night I make it a point to just pick up the uke or sit at my keyboard and try and learn something new, because that's the beauty about music personally for me, because I am like a beginner at best. There's a lot to learn. There is so much to learn, and it just excites me, that possibility of learning almost every day, and making the most of what you have really excites me.
I think they say when you play music, the both parts of your brain are in power. Your left side, your motor, and your creative side. Both of them are doing the best. And there was a study which came out by the American Physiological Association, which said that playing or listening to music, either one of that, you develop antibodies in your body, help you fight viruses, bacteria, whatever. And they also develop these natural killer cells which help your immunity. And I think that's all what we need now during the times of COVID. But generally, it keeps your soul happy. And I think
for sure,
that a happy mind is a healthy body. So, it's well known that it reduces your cortisol levels, but I think it's most important to take into consideration that music, it does a lot more than we think it does. So it's not just, exterior feeling happy, but it does a lot for your body as well. There's something in the UK that people do when children are born. So it's called the Mozart effect. So what they do is when the child is born, they make the child listen to symphonies of Mozart, and apparently it helps build the brain power and IQ of the child. And I found this very interesting because I think music therapy and science in music is still very new and it's still developing, and I don't think it's come to India, except a few centers around India do this where they do music therapy. But with regards to the Mozart effect, I think it's beautiful how Mozart symphonies can actually influence a child when it's right out.
100%, yeah. And I feel like music is such a great segue into just finding out and figuring out what you're interested in, because it's not something that's rigid. So, I paint sometimes and I sketch sometimes. And I feel like the two activities, listening to music, playing music, and art in general, are so fluid and so interconnected. And I feel like music in that sense has really, really opened me up to sort of figuring out what I'm interested in and really giving myself that space to, figure myself out and understand what, makes me happy, what I'm passionate about. And it's just, I feel like this isn't limited to music necessarily. I feel like any art is it just drives people in a way that I have never known before. We get held back because we often think that we're not good enough. And this happens to me a lot because just within Jindal and within the music society, there is so much talent. There is an immense, vast, group of people that are so talented in their own right. And I feel like all of us just sort of buckle down sometimes and be like, I'm not good enough to do this. Why do I have to put up videos online because somebody else is always better? And I don't think that I keep trying to remind myself that that's not the way to approach it, because this is something that means to you in a vacuum, independent of anybody or anything else. So what do you ever feel that way, and what do you think drives you?
There are always people who are going to be better than you, but you have to step out of your comfort zone, and that's where you learn the most. And that's what helps you keep it, that's what helps you to keep it going, because otherwise you're stuck in a stalemate and you don't move forward, or you're just stuck there. I think there are always times where you feel like you're not moving any forward, and that's when you have to interact with other musicians to get to know their perspective on music, and that's what keeps you going. Actually coming back to how music develops a person and makes a person very well-rounded.
I feel like we've all had that sort of Mozart effect, although it's probably not as nuanced as Mozart. But that's the thing, right? You and I both have talked about how I used to always, sit in the car with my family and my sister would play rock and roll, and it was just such an organic experience. And that really makes you realize that music is not something that you induce. The presence of music it happens in the flow of things, and without you realizing, it really, really affects you, and it really struck a chord with me. I love this. Every time I say struck a chord, I just realize, oh, fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for me, sometimes I'll put on a song that I would have listened to like 3 or 4 years back, and you know that has made an impact on you when you still remember all of the lyrics, because that's how it was for me. Because my sister and I have a pretty big gap between us. We're like 7 years apart. So she got into the whole rock and roll phase when I was in my like Katy Perry phase. But you know, when after a while, when I got into, you know, classic rock and stuff like that, it just took me back to that journey in the car where we would all listen to the music and resonate with it. And I feel like that, you know, circular property, or that, you know, infinite property that like music has, is just so brilliant, especially when it inspires you.
I think that's the best part about music, right? I mean, just like how certain smells and certain fragrances take you back, like, you know how they say the smell of an old book. It takes you back to, let's say, a lending library you visited when you were a child. Or yeah, I mean, that's the same with music. I mean, certain sounds and certain rhythms and melodies, they take you back to a time. And that's the best part about music. And like you said, it's very fluid. I mean, you could be studying and listening to music, or you could be painting. Like you said, you're into art. So you can do anything with music. But personally, I've always found it difficult to do that. I think when I'm doing something, I only stick to what I'm doing. And similar.
That's fair too. So yeah, we were talking about how like music is just such an all-round body experience. And one of the things I was reading up about was this effect called synesthesia. And it's so cool to me because it's the ability to visualize colors and you know, images when you are listening to a particular kind of music. And you know how this translates into, you know, you listening to particular kind of music when you're, let's say, feeling down. That's when, you know, you say you're feeling blue. But conversely, there's also a genre called the blues. That's, you know, really groovy and really, you know, interesting. So it's so interesting how music is fluid and transcends purely lyrics or purely words. It's a whole experience involving images, colors, you know, specific emotions that you can't really describe as well. And it's so interesting to me when artists are able to translate that into the music that they make, and, you know, make it an experience that is true to themselves. Because I do feel like a lot of the times, you know, that's the thing about music, there is something for everybody, and there is no good or bad kind of music. Except like country music. I'm kidding. Every kind of music is great. But to me, what resonates with me the most is when an artist is really being true to themselves. And I find that theme really interesting in bands as well, because one of my favorite bands, Cage the Elephant, they sort of had this whole battle with like consumerism, and they had this album called Mellophobia. And mellophobia, according to them, means the fear of music, in the sense that the fear of, you know, losing your organicness. And all of these artists, no matter how renowned they are, always struggle with, you know, the gaze of the masses and you know, what's in at that point in time.
There's another
and it's
that's coming to my mind when you mention Cage the Elephant. I mean, there are songs from Pink Floyd, and there are artists like Eric Clapton who make their own meaning out of every song that they perform, and that's what makes the music from the past the best. But there is also a song by My Chemical Romance. It's called Cancer. So
yes,
so
the 21 Pilots cover is also so great.
I think mentioning that song gives me goosebumps now, because it was a real life experience that the band had. And I mean, like you said, staying true to what they are of themselves as musicians, that's what makes music very, very special. And like you said, lyrics, they make the whole song an entire new experience for the audience. And it makes a difference when someone is listening to the song and they know the meaning of it, and when someone is listening to it just for the heck of it. I mean, it makes a hell of
Yeah.
a
I love your cover of Cancer. It's such a great take on the song as well. And like
has a ukulele page. We'll link that below so you can check it out.
every song of a lot of these artists has so much to come back to. Like every time you listen to it, there's a different takeaway. Like Taro is about war photographers, and they were husband and wife, and they were lovers, and one of them died before the other, and it's just a whole story that's told in the song, and it's just so brilliant that musicians have the ability to tell stories in such a well-rounded audio-visual experience. It's brilliant. And like a lot of that is lost in this race behind what people consider like popular and what people consider just a bop that you can listen to. And everybody has bops that they listen to without thinking too much, and everybody has music that they go to when they just want to have fun and not think too much, which is why I feel like music is the gift that keeps on giving. There's something for everybody, and it just has you exploring no matter how old you are, and it's just something that really helps you explore yourself and makes so much of who you are. Even if you're a pretentious college kid, or you're an old like 80-year-old, or you're a little kid, music is really something that influences everybody in every way that it can.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. And I think you put it in a very comprehensive way. And I mean, there's nothing better I could add to that. And I mean, we're also hitting the 20 mark time. So we're going to close this. But it's been lovely having you on the show, Harshitha. And
it's been so fun.
And we're going to be linking her music pages like right here. So you definitely should check that out. And we'd also love if you'd like to interact with us, interact with Music Soc Talk or Harshitha. And you'll see us on campus next year. So thank you once again for your time. And it's been
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I really, before we leave, I really want to say all of the freshers, I really, really hope that they give the inductions, and I'm looking forward to interacting with people from Music Soc. Really missing it, and I really hope that we get to, go back soon.
Likewise. All right. So until then, thank you guys. We will be joined again soon in episode number 4.